First, let me be the first to welcome you to Binance Blockchain Week Paris 2022. It has been a long journey to bring us all together here today.
Our panels will include discussions on mass Web3 adoption in the EU, France's blockchain ecosystem, and also how you can secure your blockchain identity.
Look at this turnout. This is the largest event you have organized for Binance in the world. Why is France a strategic hub for the blockchain community?
So I think France is very important, very strategic for many, many reasons. I think one of the first reasons is for us, there's a very large talent pool here. France has a very strong engineering culture, and France has been historically very strong in mathematics, so that culture still filters down through the generations, and that has very deep roots. So talent pool is one of the biggest reasons that we're here for. We hired 150 people in France, in Paris already. We are planning to hire a couple hundred more.
The fintech ecosystem in France is the largest in terms of jobs in Europe by now. We have a growing crypto ecosystem, which is part of the fintech ecosystem. We have global leaders like Ledger, like Sorare, and we've been able to attract global leaders like Binance.
The challenges we face very often are, regulatory challenge. The French regulators are very clear, very upfront, very precise. They're very demanding, very strict, but they're very quick in response. They're very responsive, so they're very quick. They want to push this industry forward. They welcome this industry. I think the other challenge we face very often is still education. France is quite good for this. France has many strong schools. And today we can announce that we're actually working with Simplon to educate 10,000 students.
So you see, we have the companies, we have the financiers, we have wise regulators, and we have a growing talent pool. And these are all the reasons why France can lead on Web3.
We all know, and I don't need to explain to you, that's why you're here, that really Web3 is the future. We have right now about 300+ million users globally of crypto. And the question is, can Europe compete? Can it become a global leader?
What's really changing is the fact that now there's enough money to be invested in Europe by lots of investors, and also the fact that now you don't need to go in the US or in other countries to create your company and to raise funds. When you have lots of companies coming in a country, they actually train talents. And those talents go everywhere afterward. When we went in Montreal, we were able to create a global ecosystem. In France, we did the same. So we are very happy that you came, Binance, in Paris. What I see is that the energy we have in this industry is just phenomenon. There's lots of money and talent, and I think we will be able to create a new world that will be closer to each individual.
Our luxury products will be digital in the future because we live digital lives, and so our ability to kind of take ownership, transfer ownership. Look, here's something very simple. Ticketmaster in the US has quietly distributed 4 million NFTs since May, right? And they are in the form of tickets, they're in the form of digital collectibles. Starbucks basically has a stable coin, right? Starbucks dollars, and they're adding, and they're bringing that onto the network.
You see the future, this is big, this is going to change the world, but there are still some people kind of asking questions, well, give me something concrete.
You have to be able to not only understand what's going on, but predict the future in a little bit. And if we were doing a news broadcast on television right now, the news anchors have a much easier job than the weather forecaster, right? Telling what already happened is much easier than telling what's going to happen tomorrow. And so governments are in this position with a technology which is truly revolutionary. Right? I think that we knew the internet was going to change humanity, or some of us did, back in 2000. And so the internet did change humanity in really important ways. So if a revolution of information changes humanity like that, let's imagine what a revolution of value is going to do for humanity.
There is a first-time mover advantage in blockchain right now. It's not the people that create the perfect protocol in one shot. It's the people that create the first iteration that gets the lion's share. things in blockchain move really fast. So you need to deliver fast the product you're working on. Why? Because in 2 months, maybe the context is totally different.
We are working a lot to support the demand. There is a demand in France. One piece of figure strikes me is the fact that 8% of French citizens, adults, are owning cryptos in France, which is to say significantly more than equities. And it says something, and 3.2% already bought NFTs.
Right now, we discover some use cases in DeFi, in finance, about payment, and we know pretty well what will be the future, but we don't know yet the strict use cases. So you have to be patient. You have to regulate the whole landscape of the technology, but you must assure that it will not cancel the innovation.
I know it's not very popular among youngsters and young entrepreneurs, but regulation is both compulsory and necessary. We do need to protect the consumer, the investor, and the market globally. Otherwise, we'll end up with some big issues. Actually, it applies to every single financial transaction, whether it's investment, borrowing, payment, etc. We can do our best to turn regulation into an opportunity. We got to turn it into something which is as much protective to the consumer, investor, and the market, but also innovation-friendly, which is our debate.
The next step is mass adoption, and for me there are two things for that. Prerequisites, first education, and second, sorry David, regulation. First, education, because we need to educate the mass of the population about a lot of things, about AML, about environmental impact, about how blockchain works. You know, on AML, most of the people don't know that now crypto asset service providers need to apply the same regulation that BEX. Voilà. A lot of people don't know that, so it's by explaining that we will encourage mass adoption. On environmental impact, today there will be the merge in the Ethereum blockchain, which will lead to 99% of decrease of CO2 emissions and environmental impact. It's a very positive thing for blockchain because it will reduce the environmental impact of blockchain. And I think that a lot of people don't know about that. So that's why Binance has a lot of actions in education. There is a collaboration with a lot of schools in French, with the school Simplon, as CZ and the minister said previously, which is the top tech school in France. We have also collaboration with business schools, ESSEC, HEC, etc. So it's very critical for the next step of blockchain. And the second thing is regulation, because for me, there will be no mass adoption if there is not a level of confidence, of trust on the blockchain technology and on the exchanges, etc. We absolutely need to demonstrate that there is a sufficient level of investor protection, and the steps currently taking place in the French regulation and European regulation, are going in the right direction.
Already today, France is becoming the haven for crypto champions who want to expand to Europe because of all the work that France has already done regarding regulation, but also because we have authorities that are really experts about crypto assets.
I think it was a great signal to tell all the crypto players that public authorities were open to cryptos, and we wanted to do it right with our regulators having a close look at this activity, but still that Paris will be a welcoming environment.
There's so much dynamism and so much drive in this sector that it will determine its own future. But in coming forward with this regulation, with this proposal for this regulation, we really wanted to onboard crypto activity in the European Union and to organize and to determine a mind shift among policymakers and regulators. Blockchain technology and crypto assets have enormous potential for useful applications. And I'm looking forward to seeing these useful applications coming to the market, be it in utilities, gaming, whatever.
From the French Treasury's perspective, what we see in terms of opportunities is obviously you go faster since transactions are automated. And so probably costs could decline. And we know that for some financial services, costs remain pretty high, including in Europe. So the other thing is we still have very strong, we are polite, so we say oligopolies, right? Not to say monopolies on part of our financial system. In this regard, too, we think that maybe DeFi could contribute to creating a kind of pressure on those actors also for them to maybe innovate a bit more and propose less costly services. So there is definitely a positive angle.
Some people said that crypto is a Ponzi scheme, but once you explain what are behind crypto, what is the technology, once you explain that 30 years ago you can communicate through a network and you can send information, and now, 30 years later, you can send value. And once you have the possibility to send value, you are building up a new financial system, neutral, open, public, borderless, and censorship resistant. Once you explain that, and it's all about technology, it's not about confidence, it's all about innovation, then people change. But if you are talking every day about how you sell your bitcoins tomorrow, expensive or cheaper, you are introducing a variable that is not good for the crypto ecosystem.
What we're looking at is just real-world usage and demand and traction. Because I think until now, if you look at all the different crypto sectors, stablecoins, DeFi, play-to-earn games, the demand is mainly crypto natively driven. And people use stablecoins for crypto settlement and trading. People use DeFi for leverage trading in crypto. People use play-to-earn games just to earn more of those massive token incentives. And I think if we want to get out of this bear market, we really have to cross the chasm to the real-world economy, real-world utility. And I think the same is true for borrowing lending protocols in DeFi that hopefully people will use in the next couple of years for real-world investments. Or stablecoins, for example, if you think about cross-border payments or even treasury payments within corporations. I see plenty of real-world utility there for individuals, for companies, and I think that's the point where we will break out of this current bear market.
You have Web3, it's growing, it's doing incredible things and really pushing the boundaries. You have a lot of infrastructure that maybe breaks when things grow too quickly, perhaps with play-to-earn and other things. That's not a negative in my mind, it's a positive. It brought new people to set up wallets, to get involved, and maybe they disappear, but maybe they come back. The reactivation will be super interesting to monitor as things pick up again.
But I think we're starting to see signs of strength here, and we just, hopefully we can sort of, rally behind that to see things that, really start to make a difference in the real world. So, but that has to come with sort of like the infrastructure that needs to support it.
What's also great for all of you is that you do have later stage investors now spending material time in this space. It's not just pre-seed, seed rounds getting done, and there are many of them right through this so-called bear market. But I think more than that, you have large Series A, and then hundreds of millions of dollars going to continuing to fund successful, growing business in this space, and really proving out that use case.
I feel like we've proven, just like these folks have said, that this works, right? DeFi works, and I think now is the time for us to sort of cross the chasm and make this sort of truly available with the Lego blocks, with the building blocks that are getting set up by you folks, and to make it widely adoptable. So very glass half full outlook on what's to come in the future.
You can start with innovation around a game or sports or entertainment, and then address a fundamental question about privacy preservation, perhaps using ZK-based approaches, and then that hopefully will unlock a favorite area of mine, which would be what we call open health, or sometimes now called DeSci. So because if we can get individuals comfortable and regulators and governments comfortable with the way we can share our personal, biomedical data, that's a treasure trove of opportunity, I think, for Web3.
Users are still here, playing, engaging. I'm very confident that if we're able to show that there is engagement and adoption, no matter of the cycle of the crypto market, specifically a winter, also given that Sandbox started in 2018 into a crypto winter, that we have a good avenue ahead of us. And the year is not finished, so I think around investment, both ourselves will have interesting announcements.
If you're building in a time when things aren't great, then actually you're not building it just for the money, you're building it for purpose. You have a real reason behind it. And I think this is the other thing. Investors see that too. If you're building a company that is purpose-driven and that has a big mission, which I think Sandbox has and what we're trying to support as well, then finding money isn't the problem. People don't buy how you do it, they buy why you do it. And for Web3, there's a very big why. And if you believe about this future, about digital property rights and the meaning behind it and why it's a better future in the digital world, then that's where our youth is. Then as an investor, you're investing in the future. Why are people pouring money into TikTok, for instance? Because that's where our youth is. That's what young people want to do. Or why were they pouring money before into apps? Because that's where young people are. And where are the young people today? They're in the metaverse. They're building Web3. They're into crypto.
Digital assets with a real utility are actually coming out as the long-term winner, because people can not only store them and let them sleep, but most importantly, they can actively engage to increase the potential earnings that they can make from such assets.
The value is going to come from a lot of the technical, deep knowledge you have here, combining it with real business understanding. How do you build business models and get this to happen? And you've got to build bridges. So you've got to bring people with that industry experience in, with people who are excited and passionate about the technology, and you've got to meet in the middle if you're going to create value.
On the knowledge part, I would say that Web3 has to be connected with other digital technologies and not to be taken isolatedly, like, for example, artificial intelligence, big data, and other technologies. So that's on the knowledge part. Then on the business part, I think there's a lot of jobs today in the Web3 industry. And I can really see with my current promotion how people from very different backgrounds have taken this course, whether it's communication, it's legal, it's business, it's technological, because once again, there are plenty of jobs in Web3, and that's what seems to be fascinating to my point of view.
It's very important that everyone has access to this kind of technology, and as Simplon is really focused on underserved, we really have to focus on democratizing, demystifying this technology, and this is the thing I'm more passionate with. The use cases are great, but non-profit use case, empowering people use case are really something that make me get up in the morning. Yeah.